Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pillar to Post. I am Rashaun Alleyne, and I'm joined, as always, by Kobia Hamblin, and we are going to bring the second racing season to an end as we preview the Grooms Appreciation race day. It's a field of race day karting, 9 races, and Kobia, we're just going to go ahead and jump right into race number one.
So as I said, Rashaun, we're going to jump into race number one. This race is the Darnley Danny Boy Lashley condition race. But this race is open to West Indian bred 2-year-olds. This race is 5.5 furlongs, and we are now seeing the return of first-time winner Ariel, Rashaun.
Yeah, I'm going to side with Ariel, however you want to pronounce it. I think she just, of the 2 races we've seen so far, she's shown that she has that quality. And I think what's important, also looking at her physically first time out, she was just a ball of baby weight. And I think after a win, and getting that experience under her belt, she should be a lot fitter and a lot more tucked up. As you see in the replay, her first start was marred with some drama where people are going to assume that Venom being taken away by Oya's Princess is what gave her that win. But I think the way she just finished and saw out the race, if Venom stayed on a true course, she was still going to be victorious. And again, as you see her, she looks like a ball of fat. So I think a fitter Ariel will be very hard to beat.
Yeah, I think 4.5 lengths, regardless of how it came, is pretty hard to take out, or it's pretty hard to justify. But I'm not going with Ariel, however it's pronounced. I'm actually going with the Mr. Thornton owned Ultrasound. Now, Ultrasound, who would have had some very good comments coming into this race and rumors coming into this race,
Right.
quite disappointed me last effort out. But, sometimes a first-time starter can now have to find his feet and now understand what he's supposed to do. And I think he took a lot from this race, especially due to the fact that Gerald is retaining the ride. Dapper David here, of course, was by far the best. Quite impressed me. But Ultrasound, I'm hoping, can understand what is going on, took something from this race, and is going to improve to better and can beat Ariel. I think that's a pretty hard task, but I'm not someone who ever goes with the favorite. So I have to find someone to beat the favorite. The favorite I expect to be Ariel. Her return to racing. Let's see what Ultrasound can do, Rashaun.
No, I think he is the most like the other winner. I have him underneath. As you said, there were a lot of good things said about him before he ran. And physically, he's a good-looking animal. It's still early, but he's on the smaller side. Looked pretty fit first time out, and looked ready to win first time out. So I think it's a conversation around quality now, as he's running against a horse who I just think is a little better. But these are the 2 for both of us. We'll see if Ariel can continue her, I guess, undefeated streak, if you even call it that, when it's at 1. But it's going to be a pretty competitive race to open the day. So we move on to race number 2. It's the Euclid Moggy Harris condition race, and it's for 2-year-old maidens, but it's also open to West Indian breds, non-winners of 2. And we have the same exacta again, and we have it in the same order, Dr. B on top of Mystic Rain.
Now, Mystic Rain, who I would have seen at a breeze over in the USA, a son of 1,000 words. I'm not very familiar with the damn side. Rashaun, can you give me a bit light into that?
No, we were talking about this a little earlier, and it's insane to see like the pedigree pages on some of the horses that come to Barbados. And Turco Treat is out of a mare who also threw Point Given. And if you have been following horse racing in the US, you know the name Point Given, who won the 2001.
Buffett, right?
Right, exactly. Who won the 2001 Preakness and Belmont and the Travers after losing as the favorite in the Kentucky Derby. In my opinion, the best Bob Baffert horse that he's ever trained. Their Silver Charm, American Fair were justified, but on talent Point Given is up there and the best for me. So to see his half sister have a horse come to Barbados who breathes pretty well is very interesting. She didn't throw anything of note. She had 2 other colts before Mystic Rain, and the reports are out on Mystic Rain. They're saying that he is going to win this race, at least from the reports that I've received. I find it hard to see that. Yeah, I find it hard to see that. We both have Dr. B on top, so you agree. I think Dr. B's last start, or his last couple starts actually, have shown a horse that's just doing really well right now. It was just a weird race behind an informed Bahari Cove where you're going to see that Dr. B was on the lead, something he hasn't done maybe ever. And then Faster Cash just comfortably goes by him as if Dr. B is not, as we say, spitting the bit. But
Yeah,
then within the
surprise,
last,
surprise.
right, and then within the last furlong, he somehow regains his footing and re-rallies to beat Faster Cash, who's put a couple lengths on him. It's not like she put a nose or a head or a neck. He
Yeah, she
completely
went on about her business. She was finished with him.
right. He completely re-engages and runs at Bahari Cove in the end. So I think a horse that just is in form, has the wins over the first timers who might have a higher ceiling. I think I'm gonna be a bit more comfortable taking Dr. B in this spot over Mystic Rain. But from the reports, I wouldn't be surprised if Mystic Rain wins this race.
Well, based on history, we do always find that these imports come in technically bully or creoles. And I wouldn't say it's impossible to do this time, but I do have to side with experience. I do have to side with the horse who has ran more races and has been a winner. Let's most importantly say, I don't think there's any bigger confidence boost for a horse than winning a race, let alone an athlete, not just a horse. So I do have to go with Dr. B. I think he will appreciate the apprentice claim. Mr. Blackett, let's see what you can do. Mystic Rain, though, from what I've seen, especially him parading last race day, if you saw it on the live stream, that is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful horse.
No,
And if looks can run half as good, if looks are half as good as they can run, my goodness, this is one for the future.
no, everyone's saying that so far. So I hope that he obviously, builds the hype and disappoints. We want good horses to continue to show up in Barbados. And you mentioned something that I think is the big thing. Dr. B is also going to get a 7-pound claim, and it's not like the apprentice has a whole, hard science ride here with Dr. B. It's like get him and hold on. I think Dr. B is going to take some beating. Race number 3. It's the Kenneth Plug Brown Handicap, and I'm going to let you jump in here with 17 million US, our favorite on top. I'm going to go with a huge long shot. I was trying to find this horse a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to try with him again. But for right now, you have 17 million US.
You know what, Rashaun? As much as I was going to say, you have to convince me of why Crime Watch deserves a chance here. I mean, let's be fair. I have Prominent to run second, and in the back of my mind, I kind of want to change that first. Right. Now, I was watching a race with Prominent quite a few race days ago. It was this year. I think it was around February. Prominent is a horse I find requires the lead and requires quite an easy lead. Red Force here, who I thought would have been an early challenger, well, I don't know, for whatever reason, didn't oppose Prominent on the lead. And Prominent didn't necessarily get away, but he was so easy up front that he took them right back to the top of the stretch, and he almost got away from them. Super Heights, the old but gold boy, did catch him on the wire, but Prominent, as easy as can be with the same lightweight as basically Saturday's race day, I think you got to catch. I think you have to catch Prominent here. He is also beating 17 million US, barely getting caught by who is Super Heights. Sorry, right. I kind of miss him. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
but
I think Prominent is.
Catch me if you can. It's not going to be a Nostradamus trip, but I think Mr. Maynard should keep that in mind. You have the speed. Use it. No one else is going to come at you. Maybe Crime Watch, but I'm not sure Crime Watch is just as fast.
So Prominent is definitely very dangerous, more so routing than going the sprint races. So, and I agree, the trip that probably suits Prominent best is to go to the lead. Now, Crime Watch, I'm going to take on top because to me, it's 17 million US and everybody else. And I am not necessarily the biggest 17 million US fan. So I don't want to just default to the name. So, and then everybody else's form isn't the greatest. So Crime Watch's last race, when facing 17 million US as well, where they lost to High Velocity, he completely blows the brake. And Maynard was on board this day. He gets a rider change today. He is almost 7 to 8 lengths last. And I guess the horse runs away with him. Maybe it was instructions. Maybe he just thought they were going too slow when he did catch up. And from braking like that, the horse just completely blows by everyone and picks up the race, and doesn't pick up the race and sit in front by a length. Like, the horse is, in my opinion, dragging him to the lead, and he was unable to restrain. if this happens, Prominent won't see the lead, and that's just unfortunate. But if this horse gets a settled trip where he can track horses like Prominent and come with one run, because this is not conducive to winning. This just
No,
complete
it isn't.
headstrong. Exactly. And then he comes back here, he gets Bellamy, which, no offense to Maynard, is a jockey upgrade. Claiming 7 pounds, so 119 pounds puts him square in the good handicap spot for the weight, as he's a 28 horse rated horse in a 30 rated race. And I thought he ran into a buzzsaw with high velocity. So I think a easier trip here with Crime Watch could result in a pretty big upset, especially because the others in the race I don't think have the form. So, and then the other horse that you have to think about is Amaretta, who isn't in form as well. So,
Rashaun, I'm done with her. No, not that I have anything against the horse, but I've had her to, show me a third or fourth for the last 2 or 3 race days, and she's just been missing. I'm not sure what's going wrong here. I'm not sure if I'm missing something, but I so desire her to run third Saturday, and I'm so afraid that she's not going to do it. My fingers are crossed.
I feel you.
Topping up your account made easy. Go to BarbadosTurfClub.org. Click Betting and select Top Up Account. Scroll down to select your desired amount and click Add to Cart. Click View Cart, verify your amount, then proceed to checkout. Fill out your billing details and click Place Order, and you'll be ready to bet.
Race number 4, it's the Harcourt Mares Handicap. It's Division A of this handicap for the 50s and lower. I'm going to take a horse that I hope I'm going to get some value on, and that's number 7, Premise. I think his last race, if you take a look at it, he was best in a race where he had a less than ideal trip. As you can see, like as the winner Red Force is making a move, he's still in some trouble. And I think ultimately with a race like this where there is some pace on paper, maybe Social Circle, Mo Farah, Northern Lady, even coming across from the outside, he's the one on Water Weekend are probably the fastest. He's going to get a good setup. And I think as Red Force gets his momentum, you see Premise is bopping and weaving in the stretch, and is going to get into some trouble late, bumping with Thunder Lady, and just misses. So I think a clean trip Premise is primed to go one better in this spot.
Whereas you choose Premise is on my third line. I have to go with horse number 8, Ollivander. And as much as I hate choosing favorites, I mean, can you really blame me though?
Well, I can, because I'm not necessarily sure Ollivander is going to go favorites. He might go close, but I have Ollivander nowhere. So you're going to have to really get this one over, because I prefer Queen's Consort out of their last race, which you have the exacta to run back with Ollivander and Queen's Consort, but I prefer Queen's Consort.
Fair enough. Now, this race is a 50 and lower sprint. If you look back at Ollivander's last start, his last start was a 45 and lower sprint where he beat the same Queen's Consort and, well, one who's not on the race Criterion. But right, when I look at the race, Ollivander is more tactically placed, and I think that is going to repeat as well, whereas Queen's Consort is going to be forced to find her way late on, just as right here, she's about 9, 10, 12 wide. She's basically catching a city circle bus coming from home. And Ollivander gets a jump on her, and I just think this is going to repeat again. I don't think Queen's Consort has the speed to beat up with Ollivander early, and I don't think Ollivander is going to stop for Queen's Consort to catch up. I think Queen's Consort is going to take a belly full of running to catch Ollivander. Ollivander has beaten, I think, quite literally this entire field already. So there's no question in my mind where this horse is going to repeat. Now, what's crazy for me, you don't even have him to place.
Yeah.
You don't even have him to score. If you had him second, third, fourth, I can understand. Rashaun, where is he?
So, like, as I said, with 17 million US, I don't want to just default to the name on paper, and there's some others that I just like a lot more. And honestly, I could toss him in Social Circle and mix them a bit, because I don't love Social Circle at the 130 pounds. He might be a bet on name where Ricky Walker gets on board. Northern Lady, who just lost to Ollivander in the race that you showed, I think the claim to 117 pounds is going to help big time. And we mentioned the speed. I think she will be the superior speed, like left around. I think with Water Weekend coming off the layoff, I don't think he's the one is of that caliber. So I think Northern Lady has shown she could either rate or she can go into a duel and still finish. Ollivander, I wouldn't be surprised, but again, I just feel like there's some others who are showing me some things that could offer some value, namely Premise and even Queen's Consort, that I would rather put $1 on and probably get a bigger return on investment than defaulting to Beckles and Ollivander and then getting
the dynamic duo
10 cents on my getting 10 cents on my dollar, which is yay, I won, but at what cost? So I respect him, but I am going to go against him in this spot.
Now, as much as I don't find any issue in what you say, I will stand with my forecast, which is basically duplicating from what occurred in their last effort. I do go with Northern Lady. Northern Lady is a winner at 5.5, a speed ball, for lack of a better term. But I must also look at he's the one and respect his early speed. I do think he's going to go with Northern Lady early. I do think the two of them may just choke one another early. But I do think Northern Lady is going to come out on top of the altercation. I do find he's the type of a horse where he needs that easy lead, and Northern Lady is not going to give it to him. I think Northern Lady is going to hold on for third, and that's my trifecta.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting race. A lot of speed is signed on, and I think Premise will just get the better of them. But that's race number 4. Race number 5 is the Harcourt Mares Handicap Division B. So now this is for the 50 and lowers, and this one came up a lot later, in my opinion. I think the first division is definitely very tough. The second division is a little later, and we don't have a lot of differences here with our picks, just an order of 3 of them, and you're going to go with Thunder Lady, the speedball on top.
Yeah, Thunder Lady, I would have previously mentioned he's the one needs that ease on the lead. And I think this is where he would have relished. I think Thunder Lady has exactly what he's the one would have required. And I think she is not going to make any mistakes with that. I also added Edelweiss. Now, Edelweiss, her last start, I find that she wasn't quite asked for 100%. And she was there or thereabout at the end of the race. Look at her right now. She's about what? 7, 8, maybe 9 lengths off the lead, and she's absolutely cruising. Ricky Walker is just.
I mean, that's who she is.
Yes, it is who she is. That's her personality, calm, cool, and collective. And at the quarter pole, just choose: do I go left? Do I go right? Do I go inside? Right. Do I go outside? And at the top of the stretch, if you look at it, there's about 6 horses going across in a blanket, and she's right there. Now, I find where I would have asked Ricky to do a bit more. Ricky didn't give me what I wanted. And Ollivander and Queen's Consort, who are in Division A, ran right by her. Now, as I said, every finish she's there or thereabout. And I think this time it's hard for her to run into any kind of traffic. It's hard for her to have any kind of hamper coming to the top of the stretch. I think as Dean says, there are no excuses for her. This is straightforward for her. I think Thunder Lady, Edelweiss, and the Grey Horse Tiptoe, this is my bet of the day. This is my trifecta of the day. I think there's absolutely no question. I boxed this at $5. It's going to cost you $30, and fingers crossed, it brings you a big return.
Yeah. Well, good luck, guys. Fingers crossed on that try. I'm going to go a little differently with my trifecta. I'm going to start with Tiptoe. I think now after the Derby, it kind of turns the page and you start to see when the 3-year-olds have to find where they belong. And Tiptoe took a little step into deep water last time out before the Derby and ran into some horses that I think will win this race without taking a deep breath. Let's start with the horse that won the race. He lost to Paper Trail, who turned around and won the BTBA Sprint. Northern Lady, who I think is going to do pretty well in Division A. Marvel, who would win this race in a trot, and Bahari Cove, who's in the form of his life. And Tiptoe hung with these horses. He obviously is not as fast as them, but he was not far off of them when the dust settled. And I think this is a performance with these horses that he hung with that beats this division. So I think we don't know necessarily how good the 3-year-olds are, but I think this is the start of when the 3-year-olds can show that through Tiptoe. Another horse that I like a little differently as well as Dorcas, number 1, another 3-year-old filly. She's actually undefeated at 1,100 meters. She's got 2 wins at the trip. Then she went, obviously, when you have a 3-year-old, you take on the classics and you do that. And now she's, resetting and fallen in with where she's rated, and I think she could run pretty well here. I have Thunder Lady over her because I think Thunder Lady is just going to get loose and probably not going to get caught by many horses, as you say. Like, she's a speedball, and I understand why you pick Edelweiss earlier. You pick Queen's Consort and Ollivander, so obviously in Division B, you're probably going to pick the horse behind them. But I think these are the horses you want here. The Thunder Lady with the speed who won't be passed, and then I just think the 3-year-olds right now might be less exposed and are of good quality. But we'll see how it goes. Again, Edelweiss is a horse that has a reputation. I wouldn't be surprised if she wins here, but I'm going to stand pretty firmly. I'm going to stand 10 toes down on tiptoe. So we'll see how race number 5 goes.
Agreed. Now, Rashaun, we're going to ease our way into race number 6. And Mark Gamble handicap. This race is going 9 furlongs for horses 55 to 37. And Rashaun, I don't see how you're beating Drogon here. I don't see it. I don't like picking favorites, and I think he is going to end up a favorite. Morning line right now, he is 5-1. I think that's giving him money. I think race day itself, he's going to drop to maybe 5-2, 4-5 or so. I don't see anyone beating him.
Yeah, you keep saying, and you usually have the long shots, but you keep saying you don't want to pick favorites, but you're ending up there.
I feel it's so hard to avoid them.
Yeah, it is. And this is a race that you will 100% point to Drogon. I think it's one of the most competitive races for this class that we've had in quite some time. And because it's so competitive, I just do not want to look at Drogon and point a finger and say I want Drogon. And there's so many that you could look at, and I don't necessarily love all of them. So I'm going to look for a long shot. And I admit that this is a huge shot in the dark with number 8 War Party, who we're going to have to go all the way back to November of 2024 to find this horse's last win. He's ran well since this win, but this is a trip at 1,800 meters, and on this day he had 117 pounds. And on this day he's going to claim, and he's going to go to post with around 114.15. Depends on what Daniel's going to catch. And if you look through his form since this win, he's still taking 128, 128, 125, 120, 125. And I feel like he's a horse that's rated lower than Drogon and such, but he's carrying this weight. So now that he gets a weight break at a trip that I know he can win at, I think if all things go well, this is a horse that can hang with this field. And I'm just going to take a shot in the dark and hope that he can upset and find that form that he had almost a year ago with Daniel on board.
Okay, Rashaun, for my second line, I go with Miss Consistent. I think I have a soft spot for this horse at this point. Queen Justina. Big, beautiful mare she is. Queen Justina, who has basically built a reputation and a relationship with Kadeem Mohammed, taking off 7 pounds again from 122. Her finishes going 9 furlongs have not been as good as going just about the miles, 7.8 furlongs. But I do think, Rashaun, she's better than the majority of these. I don't think she's good enough to beat Drogon. Drogon has been handed in wins at this distance with ease. And I don't think she is good enough, or at least she has shown me she's good enough to stop Drogon. But I do think she's better than the others. Another one I must commend, especially their effort last race, it was Heroes Day. I thought Heroes Day was a bit, as Bezos said, uppity with the blinkers. And I thought maybe he would appreciate the removal of the blinkers, but Ray showed me you just need to sit quiet and let this horse bide his time. Don't rush him. Don't chase him. And he is going to finish like a freight train.
No, I disagree on the Queen Justina. I don't think she's that good. So that's why I don't have her in this spot. I think this water is just a little deep. 50 and lower, I can get on the Queen Justina train. But the 55 and lower, I think it's just a little. She's now on the back end. Yeah. But I have to agree on the Heroes Day. His last performance was very impressive. I don't have the superlatives to keep describing how impressive it was, so I respect that. Obviously, I say all the time, I don't want to miss the wedding and attend the funeral. So, as I said, like, the race is competitive, and I don't necessarily love a lot of them, and I don't mind Heroes Days for him, but last time probably was the time. And then Luscious stepping up off a maiden win, getting promoted into this class. This is definitely deep water, but she's not as exposed. Yes, she's lost a lot of maiden races, but her recent form has been solid, so I have her on my 4th line in race number 6.
Let's start betting. Go to BarbadosTurfClub.org. Click betting and select mobile wagering information. To the left, click Start Betting. Enter your account and PIN to log in. Select Event. Then select the race followed by your bet type. And choose your bet amount. Select your horse or horses. When finished, click Bet, verify, and click Accept, and you're ready to win.
Race number 7 is the Anthony Cheese Grant handicap for 3-year-olds and older maidens. And I just can't see past Sunbeam in this spot. I mean, I talk about defaulting to favorites, but I think when I look at the name on paper and through the form, how does she lose this race, Kobia? You have an answer. You don't have her second.
I actually have Lady Jane as my winner. Now, as much as Lady Jane has not won going 7.8, well, obviously.
Right.
She does have 3 previous starts sprinting, and 3 of them were very commendable. And in the world of horse racing, we always say anything under a mile, 7.8 furlongs, is still a sprint. So where we have 5.5 furlongs as our deemed sprinting distance, 7.8 is still quote unquote a sprint. And I don't see why this horse shouldn't be able to get the trip. But who I'm specifically looking at is Detente. A daughter of She's Even Blue, looks just like mom, if you ask me. Now I did bring up a race with this one, and this race she was beaten by a short head to eventual winner Jada's Joy, who went pillar to post. She was floated wide at the top of the stretch, but she showed me what I needed to see, and that was just a bit of heart at the top of the stretch to simply fight back with a horse that would have tossed her off of her stride just a touch. And look at her ferocious run back to Jada's Joy. She did not give up one bit. She tried all she could, and this particular day she just came up short. If Lady Jane falls short for any reason, any particular reason, and I think that only reason might be quote unquote the distance, Detente will be right there in the slips to catch everything she has to give. Sunbeam,
No.
I do see what you're saying, especially considering this is a half sibling to Triple Crown winner Hurricane. I do think Sunbeam has some more qualities to show me before I select this one as a winner. So I do take 2 steps back and put this on my third line. Rashaun, you got to convince me why this is your winner.
No, I think this, if she weren't a maiden and been beaten at such short prices, I might have said that this is the easiest winner on the day. I just think she stands out the most to me. And this is not the race that I wanted to talk from that you just showed, but there was a race where they both lost to Malala, and I think circumstances did them both in. Now, Detente ran after Legendary, who ultimately has won a race, and ended up being cheap speed in this spot. I think Sunbeam made a way too early move with 127 pounds after Detente, who, in my opinion, was always going to come back. And then Malala just makes the last move, which is always the best move, and picked them up. And Malala did go on to win a couple of races after this. I think here in this spot off the bench, Detente probably will be a little fresh and be on the pace. And Sunbeam, I just with Strake, her claiming with to 120 pounds, I just think everything is prime. Right, for Sunbeam to make that move, as you said, finally, that she's no longer carrying that top weight. So I think everything's just primed for Sunbeam to win here. I'd like to taunt off the bench. And that's going to be my best bet of the day. I have this exacta box of the taunt Sunbeam. I'm playing it at $10, which it will cost you 20. And 313, I think, is an ice cold lock on the exacta box. These two, to me, are the best horses in this field. And speaking of best, I just think they're better than Lady Jane, who I don't have anywhere. I just think the races that Lady Jane and Rush are coming out are just a cut below the quality that we see from Sunbeam and Detente. Again, all maidens, so who knows? No one knows what it's like to win. And then underneath, just Wonderwall, who came off the bench last time and ran a creditable second behind upset winner Fantastic Justice. And then a little love for Cromdale, who first time for his new connections looked fantastic in the flesh. And I noted it last race day because I wanted to play him when he came back. Comes back here with 108 pounds. Has run pretty good races routing as well. So I just have him underneath because I want to get some value underneath of a horse like Sunbeam, who's going to be a hot favorite.
And I do agree with your comments on Cromdale. I do think the 108 pounds he will. I hate to say it, as much as I do repeat it, appreciate. But sometimes, as we say, a horse needs to change his surroundings. And I think this is a first step into the new future. Let's say if you're good enough to run 4th. Rashaun, let's move on to race number 8. Now, race number 8, I found really, really difficult to handicap. This is a raw colored Cosrington handicap. This race is going 7.8 for horses 75 and lower. And if you ask me, Rashaun, you can put these 12 horses in a hat and just pick a number. And this race was so difficult for me to handicap. Now, all in all, I did come out with horse number 12, Capricat. Now, this is a 75 and lower, and if you look in Capricat's recent efforts, this horse has been running with 90s and lowers. This horse has been running with 80s and lowers, 70s, 60s, 75. Even at one point, this horse was in the Tanglewood. And I think this is not necessarily a drop in class, but this is exactly where this horse belongs. Now, here we watch a race where Capricat showed everything I needed to see to be a winner, at least in this race. And if you look through this field, I see Sovereignty, I see Queen of the South, Priceless, Cabalito's in there, McCall is in there. And how am I supposed to fight this horse from winning after running with this class and basically bullying this class for so long?
No, he is a class horse, and I think there are a lot of things at play in this race that you're showing that you have to mention. The conditions were absolutely abysmal. This was a bog, and I think I respect Cat a lot. Very honest horse, you have to admit. But because of how competitive this race is, at 128 pounds, with so many horses in such good form as well, getting much more weight break, getting a much bigger weight break from him is the only reason I have him a little lower. Is he that good that he can take 128 pounds and beat them? I will err on the side of he's not. And I'm going to take Bahari Cove. As you mentioned, this race is very competitive. As you said, you can put your hand in a hat and pull out different winners every scenario. And I think we talk about
And
like our top class.
in whoever you came up with too.
Yeah. We talk about our top class isn't obviously one for the ages, not in quality and quantity, but the horses from the hundreds and lowers are just putting on shows after shows. The races have been very competitive as of late, and this is a prime example of it. From the time entries came out, I thought that, and I was unsure where it would end up, but I end up on the 3-year-old, and I'm really giving the 3-year-olds a lot of credit so far. And I think Bahari Cove, I've said it a number of times about him, and when he's beaten horses that I've picked, he's just doing as well as a horse could do at the Garrison right now. And with 108 pounds and the quality that I think that this horse has, I do not mind the mile at all, and the turn of foot that he showed last time out to get up in a sprint. I think stretching out. This also, the winner of this race is going to have the trips of trips. You're going to have to be lucky as well as good to win this. And Bahari Cove is a horse that just continues to make good trip after good trip. So I semi-confidently take Bahari Cove in this spot.
For my second and third choice, I did go with Lovely, and I am keeping an eye on the 3-year-old Valiant. Now, I didn't choose Bahari Cove simply because I'm not very confident with him going over the trip. Sprinting, if this was a sprint, there's no questions asked. Bahari Cove is my winner, especially at the weight. But right. I'm just not the most confident going over the trip. Now, who I am, as I said, keeping an eye on is Valiant. Valiant is a winner at 7.8. Valiant did come back after a long layoff into the midsummer, and this horse did finish, quote unquote, on the podium. This is his first time against open quality. Now, you have him on your 5th, I have him on my 3rd. So somewhere, somehow, we're thinking actually, at least somewhere close.
Valiant is 10. You have him 4th. I have him nowhere. And then just quick note on that.
I just think
the reputation of Valiant is that it's just not. I don't share it. I think he's not as good as other people have him, and I want to see Valiant. No, yeah, exactly. But I want to see Valiant do well, but I just don't. I don't have him anywhere in this spot.
I've got you, but look who I'm mixing up. Life is great.
Right. No, exactly. You should know with your eyes closed what number Life is Great is. And he's another one at the weight, I think, it's very honest, ran huge in the BTBA sprint last time out, but this is just deep water. Now he's promoted some more. This is just too deep for me. But yeah, you can continue on Valiant.
Well, I'm actually going to move on to Life is Great because you said...
Of course you will. Of course you will.
You said he's a bit in deep water and maybe he's a bit outclassed. Now, the thing is, every time I saw this horse in a race that he technically doesn't belong in, he's ran massive. So you have to fight me against thinking this is just going to be his consistent basis of running massive in races. This horse shouldn't be placing in. I mean, Gold Cup Day there was a 65 and lower, and I couldn't see him beating Sovereignty. The BTBA sprint on paper, technically he shouldn't be placing, but he shows us up each
Well,
week.
well, the BTB sprint, I just think he's good at. He's been good sprinting. He can travel the mile. I just think now, like you mentioned with Sovereignty, with that race on Gold Cup Day, when you beat Sovereignty, that's your main rival. You have 7 or 8 main rivals in here that on any given day win that race on Gold Cup Day. Not against him, but this race is way harder than the BTBA sprint. The BTBA sprint was hard to win, but this race is crazy competitive. And I think Life is Great definitely in with a shot, but it's not as easy as just saying, he beat Sovereignty. But we'll see how this one goes. I'm very excited to see how this penultimate race goes. And then race number 9, it's the Brindley Grandfather Fenty Final Handicap. It's for the 140s, and Laurie finally got a 140 race to go. Not shocked that it goes at 1,100 meters, but they show up, 6 of them. And Kobia, I when I saw your 3, I could not believe it. I like Zaid, but then you have nothing in pink supporting Zaid. You're gonna have to really get to the bottom of that.
Ooh, jump scare. Now, Zaid, who is a spa sprint winner, before I actually go on to his spa sprint effort, 2 starts back 14th of June. He did win a similar race to this, beating, well, guess who? Jerry the Nipper, who's also in this race. But Jerry did have 133 pounds. This time he does get the apprentice claim, and maybe he can benefit from that, but I don't think it's going to be close to even what Zaid is going to be able to produce. I think in these races, these handicap races, obviously weight stops a train. Now, weight doesn't stop a train is in conditions races, in stakes races. And as we see right here, this horse is circling 5, maybe even 6 wide and just runs right around the field. And you can't say this field isn't of star quality. Dominus is here. Dominus, our best sprinter, and Zaid just runs right by him. Now, as I said, remember, this is with equal weights. Saturday, race day. This is a handicap race. You're giving away weight. I don't see how you're going to give this horse weight and beat him. If he's on equal running and he humbugs you, basically, how are you going to beat him when he's taking weight from you?
Well, last time they faced, actually, he got 13 pounds. Now he's probably gonna get what? Only 8, which is less than last time. I think circumstances obviously helped him. I picked him, so I anticipated that he would have beaten Jared in the Nipper, but circumstances definitely on the day helped him, where he just sat on the rail as the pace developed, ran up the rail, Jared the Nipper went wide, and within 13 pounds, you beat him by 2 lengths. What was it? You beat him by a length. So now you're getting 8 pounds. I'm not super sold. Even if Zaid wins this race, there is no way that both Portfolio Company and Jared the Nipper are going to lose to Caspian Sea and Zazie. So we might have to check you in at Jenkins after. Yeah, after that, we'll see. I don't care how much weight they get from Jared the Nipper and Portfolio Company. Those 2 will not be off the board. One of the 2 of them is going to hit the board, and I like Portfolio Company. I think he's a Gold Cup winner. He hasn't sprinted here. He didn't come from overseas being a sprinter either. But 2 of his 3 races in Barbados were some of the fastest ever. His Gold Cup in 149 is insane. And then it took Renaissance Frolic in a 134. That's a time we have not seen in a very long time.
I think this horse should have bench maybe.
Right. Those kind of times are insane that you talk about history with those kind of times. Obviously, coming off the layoff, I don't think in his second try at the Gold Cup, he was in the form that he would have to win it. And the trip was also kind of weird with him and Jared the Nipper. But I think this is the kind of horse that's going to get overlooked. The kind of odds that you'll probably get on a Gold Cup winner is crazy. I also, again, no disrespect to Straker, but I prefer Prescott and with the claim. So I just think with Zazie going in Caspian Sea, Jared the Nipper, the kind of trip that Zaid got to beat Jared the Nipper, Portfolio Company gets an even better one to run him down. But what saves you? You don't like Portfolio Company or Jerry the Nipper in this spot. So what
I
saves you?
I don't. You know, for me, it's really hard to go from established sprinters to picking a horse that hasn't sprinted in how long?
Right.
I mean, you're basically going with class and quality, and I'm going with weight. Now, it doesn't mean Zazie, Caspian Sea, or Zaid aren't as good as Portfolio Company. Obviously, these horses came in specifically for the Gold
Right.
Cup and not the Spa Sprint. There's a reason they didn't go any Spa Sprint. And I'm not going to take, Spa Sprint quality horses and put horses that run almost double the distance to
Well,
beat
Jerry
them.
the Nipper was nominated for the Spa Sprint. So in a different reality, he could have been in the Spa Sprint.
But when's the last
Let's
time
not
he
forget.
sprinted?
Well, I mean, he sprinted with Zaid, but like I know that they haven't done it and shown you, and I understand you wanted a little bit more proof in the pudding, but I just think they're two of the best horses we have, and I love Zazie, and like I just don't think Caspian Sea is of the same class as Portfolio Company and Jerry the Nipper. And this is the first time for such a high quality race that we're completely on different ends. So you're speaking for some semblance of the population.
You are soft-hearted for the boys in pink.
I mean, be that as it may, but these horses are rated 135 and 138, and I'm supposed to think that two 116 rated horses are going to have them off the board. It might be bias. It might be what I'm seeing in front of me, but the final handicap is going to be a thriller to end the season, and that's going to end our second season previews for Pillar to Post. So we'll see if Kobia is right about Portfolio Company and Jerry the Nipper or not. But that was the preview for the Grooms Appreciation Race Day. As always, thank you so much for tuning in to Pillar to Post, and may all your tickets be winning ones.
May all your tickets be winning ones. And Rashaun, let's see how this recap show goes. I'm waiting on you.
No, the recap show is going to be interesting. Thank you, everyone.